Usually before we start mixing a track, there's a series of edits we do, for instance, to a vocal before we process it, before we go through compressors and EQs and all of the nice stuff like saturation that we like to do to our vocals. And it's very important that we do, because for instance, there are things like peaks that can activate a compressor, that it could be like from over pronunciating a P or like a consonant or something like that, can generate a big peak before going into a compressor, and that will make the compressor go all the way to the left when actually you wanted to compress what came after that, the word. So that's something that I usually edit by hand before I go into a compressor. So I just click and do a couple of dots on my clip and start shaping everything. If I see something that is way out of hand, I might trim it down a little bit. Like for instance, here we have a little peak. We can make it more even with the rest of the performance, or like here, things like that. This is quite nice to do before you go into the compressor, so you can actually compress less and make it sound more natural and nicer, and not give the compressor the whole job instead and just use it for its best qualities. So that's one of the things we usually do. Another thing we usually do is just remove silences. We can do this normally with a gate, or we can do it by hand and give it different shapes. Here, for instance, I have some breath, so I usually bring this down before I go to a compressor, because otherwise I'll get that kind of sound, which can be alright. I mean, if you want that kind of sound, it's fine, but it's good to have the control over it. Another thing we usually do is to tame the S's before we go into a compressor, for instance, or before an EQ, because otherwise you cannot add top end without the S's going out of control. So today I want to show you a plugin I've been testing out for the last month that, I'm going to be honest, I'm quite in love with it, because it's saving me lots and lots of time. It does all of this that I just mentioned, all of the work that a normal audio engineer's assistant will do, or an audio engineer that does everything. And this will do it with AI, and will do it like really fast and analyze your whole track, and you can give it a target volume, and you have different modules to control each thing, and it'll do it automatically. And then you can go in and correct things that you didn't like about it. I'm using it a lot for my YouTube videos as well, and I'll show you why. As you can see, I have a track. Here is a vocal track of one of my songs. This is a very old song of mine that is called Drowning. This is how it sounded before. I'm lost in this river of pain and sorrow, long the beginning. What I have to do to activate this plugin is just right click on the clip and select DynAssist, this wonderful plugin that does everything automatically. So normally it'll show up down here, and you can have it working with ARA 2 in Pro Tools, for instance. That is what I use, but I think it works with most professional audio softwares or DAWs. So the main feature that I absolutely love is that you get a target loudness. You can select it, and you can select the LUFS that you want. You can actually see like the horizontal line, how it works regarding to your original clip, to your original audio that's behind. So you can actually see whereabouts your original track was and where you want to take it. That's something that's very cool. Next thing is very cool is that, for instance, when I record these videos, lately I've been using a lot of this software. I can select in DynAssist, I can select -16 LUFS. That is the target loudness for YouTube, for instance. It will take my vocals to that level. And normally for podcasting or for YouTube videos, it's fine. I don't have to do any kind of tweaking. But a sung vocal, it's much different. It's more delicate, and you have to give it more love because you want to keep that beautiful dynamic that normally vocals have. and that's what we want to conserve. So let's do it like this. So, and let's go and check out the different modules. If I select -16, I can hear the raw vocal here. I'm lost in this river. And once I've added the DynAssist, let's turn it on. I'm lost in this river of pain and sorrow. As you can see right here, there's a couple of dips that it's already automated. So first of all, what I want to do is I'll start turning off everything except for my ride. The rider is basically a fader that analyzes the track beforehand and will ride the volume. Yeah, it's not compression, it's just riding. If you go to your left on the speed, it will add lots of dots. That means that it will add a dot every 340 milliseconds. And if you go to the right, it will be much slower. As you can see, there's less dots. Let's do quite a faster one, half a second maybe. And now the smoothness will kind of smooth out the big differences between one dot and the other. So let's give it a bit more of a smoothness. I'm lost in this river. Now this is much better. And before we go to the next module, I suggest you have selected avoid clipping. Next module, Vox-gate. The vocal gate allows me to remove the silences between phrases. I usually do this on my own. I usually select the portion of audio, I delete it, and I add fade in and fade out. So you can do it manually. You don't need this, but if you have it, it will save lots and lots of time. So with the gate, we can actually change when it opens the speed, and we can have a much smoother speed. If you go to your right, it will be like a really deep fall, and the same for when it opens again. So let's try to keep that as smooth as we can. Yep, great. And now we can choose how much the volume dips. As you can see, it's changed right there. Now let's go into breath. We might have a small problem here that the vocal is very raspy and it has lots of breath in it. So it might work better this with another style of vocal, but let's give it a try. I can already see it's kind of lowering the volume of the breath before the phrase. That is exactly what we want. So let's hear how it sounds before. Of pain and sorrow, long. That sounds very natural. Let's take out the breath and see how it sounded before. There's quite a big difference. And if we want to remove it completely, we just bring up the range and it's gone. Of pain and sorrow. These plugins are kind of magic. It's really fantastic. Let's bring it into something more natural. There we go. We just want to bring it down a little bit, especially if we're going to compress later on. We just want to make sure everything is working correctly. So then Sibilance for the S's. As we can see, it's already selected De-essing. Let's have a little listen before the Sibilance module is activated. I'm lost in this river. As we can hear, there's lots of S's there, so let's activate it. I'm lost in this river. So now it's better, it's smoother. Let's see how far it will go. Let's take it all the way. I'm lost in this river. It's a bit lispy. Let's bring it down. Now you can see how it... I'm lost in this river. It's funny, it's taken the S out completely. Something that I think could actually work for this kind of sounds is a snare drum, a live snare drum, that you want to remove some hi-hat bleed. It would probably work really well for that. So then the plugin has other options. We can see, like, if we go into all, we will be able to see all the settings. We can select presets, save our own, go back. We can undo, we can redo. We can turn it on and off from here or from here. Select different modes, vocal or instruments. And we can select different sources if we want track or an individual clip. If we feel that this is too small and we want it bigger, we just click here and it will occupy our whole screen or whatever we want. We can make it smaller. Let's make this smaller. And that's it. I think these plugins are really worth the money because it saves you time, and anything that saves you time, because it will allow you to have more time to do more work and earn more money. So I think this is a very, very good tool, and I recommend it. It's really cool. It's quite new, so it's going to be probably getting better and better and better. Let me know what other plugins you'd like me to show here. Don't forget to subscribe. My name is Piluso, and I'll see you in the next video.